It's a pleasant day to everyone. And for today, let me just discuss the two recipes that we will be making, which is adobo and banana Q. Allow me to just share my screen. I hope you can see my screen. There. Anyway, when we speak about adobo, each household has a different version. I'm sure if you go to the different regions of the Philippines, whether Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, Eastern Luzon, Western Luzon, you will see various of it. In fact, all the way up to the north, they don't use soy sauce. No? So again, there's a reason for that. But if there's one well-known dish that every region has, it would be their version of adobo. Merong tuyo, merong pasa, merong with vinegar, and some peppery. No, so it's each it's one's family recipe. No, somehow it is protected. No, so what's the history of adobo? Like many cultures, it's based in warm climates. Filipino natives developed various methods of preserving food. Adobo utilizes acid, which is vinegar. It's very high in salt. That's why we use soy sauce in this particular recipe. But like what I said, there are certain recipes that actually make use of patis or sometimes just salt, yung adobong puti, ano tawag nila. But the very reason and the one thing that's constant is the acid, which is vinegar. Simply because at the olden times, there were no refrigerators, it was what was used to preserve food. Also, can you, maybe ngayon it's hard for us to imagine because we all have the comforts of refrigerator at our homes and freezer. In fact, there's even frozen foods of adobo that you just pop in the microwave. But right now, but in the olden times, all of these spices was really meant to preserve the pork, no? And along the way it was cooked, no? The adobo was traditionally cooked in a clay pot, but today it's more common in metal pots, woks, or even cast iron. So when the Spanish invaded and settled in the Philippines during the 16th century, they witnessed this traditional Filipino cooking method and called it adobo, which is a Spanish word for marinade. So if you also look at other cuisines such as Mexico or other parts of South America, you will come across the word adobo, no? But simply because the Spanish at that time were the colonizers, but they were going around the world in the boats. And as they go to different parts of the world, they bring with them what they have learned from the previous place that they were in. So it could be spices, cooking methods, and recipes. No? So what is adobo? So adobo refers to a method of marinating and stewing for any cut of meat or fish in a briny mixture of vinegar, soy sauce, and spices. Filipino adobo should not be confused with the spicy adobo sauce. So there's a difference. No? But the version that we'll be cooking today will probably have a lot of garlic. So only because we love the taste of garlic, it gives you spice, it gives so much body and character. No? It makes the dish more flavorful and it creates more layers. No? So it's just not that acid feeling of vinegar or soy sauce, but it gives you that added layer of flavor and texture. So there's many adobo varieties, as I have mentioned in the beginning. You may find ingredients that have included, although there are basic adobo ingredients, you may find other ingredients that have been included. Vinegar and soy sauce are the heart of adobo, but over the centuries, other liquids have occasionally been added to the brine. Some varieties include coconut milk, which mellows the strong flavors of vinegar and soy sauce. Others include sugar or honey to add a touch of sweetness and an almost teriyaki-like characteristic. The flavor of adobo can also be varied depending on the style of the vinegar used. If you also notice the varying styles of adobo, somehow it's related to their geographic locations. So if you discover some regions using a lot of coconut milk, simply because there's just an abundance of that. No? There's an abundance in that certain region. Like what I said, in the northern area, they also have a version called adobong puti, simply because they didn't really put soy sauce, probably because soy sauce was not available at that time because it was a mountainous area. No? So the most common is pork adobo and chicken adobo. No? So, and of course, apart from this variety of ingredients, some already have transcended into various cooking methods. Merong twice cooked adobo, baked adobo. So particularly the dish that we're making now comprises of braising or stewing and then we fry it, and then we stew it or we braise it some more. No? So that's thus creating the twice cooked adobo. No? So I think one of the reasons why I really like frying it, it somehow seals the flavor of all the flavors and all the juices and all the liquid that it has been braising in. So that's one of the reasons why we're doing frying. No? And then, of course, the next is banana Q. Can be spelled Banana with a Q or CUE. No? So marami. It's like a spin-off of barbecue, but the dessert version is banana Q. So it is a common street food. In fact, I believe I wrote about banana Q recently because I'm co-writing a book, no, with a good friend of mine, and we were talking about how to actually glorify street food. And banana Q is very common. In fact, it always gives a childhood memory to most of us, simply because it's the popular snack sold outside of school or when we're commuting, while we're waiting for the bus. It's a popular street food. It's quite heavy. It's very sweet. It's a meal in itself, no? It is made out of a particular kind of banana, no? Like what I said, in the Philippines, there are many varieties of bananas. Diba? May lakatan, may saba, may latondan. So the most common type that we use for this is saba. No? So one of the most popular sweet snacks in the Philippines is banana Q. It's made by frying saba bananas, which are generally coated with a thick layer of caramelized sugar. So because they are usually enjoyed as a street food, the sweet bananas are often served on bamboo skewers. But of course, we're not restricted to that. Of course, as we recreate banana Q, we will show how it is plated, probably in the traditional sense when we're selling it in the street. But perhaps if we're selling it in a restaurant, it might look a little bit different, right? So the unusual name stems from the term barbecue, since its caramelized bananas resemble pieces of golden brown grilled meat. No? Kasi nga, it's they somehow relate this with the pork barbecue. Parang meron siyang semblance to that. Pero in fact, it's a cheaper version kasi saging lang siya. No? The Filipino classic is usually sold at street stands and enjoyed at satisfying dessert or a quick afternoon snack. In fact, it's perfect with coffee for me. Coffee, it's like good for breakfast. No? So what's the history of banana Q? Originally, the banana Q and the kamote Q, another variation wherein they use kamote, were developed by households that lived near abundant fruit trees or root crop fields. The surplus was at first usually given away to neighbors, but eventually the more astute shoot realized they could make money selling the banana and kamote by the roadside to hungry passerby. I think before they discovered banana Q, they were boiling saba. In fact, it's a popular dish for the farmers wherein they bring it into their bag kasi matagal maglast ang saba, ang boiled saba. So at least when in the midday, as they're finishing their harvesting or they take their break, it's something what they eat. No? So, but of course, along the way, they were able to discover other ways of cooking it, such as banana Q. And for some of us, it became a childhood memory simply because it was located outside their school. So another is turon, no? Which is somehow similar to banana Q, but this one you actually put a wrapper around it, no? So a lumpia wrapper where you coat it with sugar. So what is turon? Turon is also known as lumpiang saging or Filipino version of banana lumpia. It's a Philippine snack made of thinly sliced bananas, preferably saba or cardaba bananas, dusted with brown sugar, rolled in the spring roll wrapper or lumpia wrapper, such as we call it, and fried till the wrapper is crisp. And as you fry the wrapper, that's when the banana will get cooked, no? It softens because it develops a steam inside it, and that's what becomes the cooking method inside that lumpia wrapper. Even if you're frying it, the banana inside will not become crispy because the crisp is coming from the lumpia wrapper. No, turon can also there are other varieties. No, turon can also include langka. Right now, we also see some people putting a sliver of ube or sometimes mangoes. No, so you could also do it with sweet potato or kamote as well. And then you can add mango, cheese, or some grated coconut. And sometimes we see some crispy sesame seeds around it, right? The word turon is Spanish in origin. It is no relation to the Spanish candy turon, no, an almond nougat confection. While turon is both commonly crunchy and chewy, it is most commonly consumed during merienda, meaning snack time or for dessert. So that's our recipes for today. So I hope that gives you a little bit of history of the dishes that we'll be cooking today. I think one of the reasons why it's important, so when we recreate it or upscale it a little bit, from street food to restaurant to bistro style, we'll be able to know its history and what other components we can mix with it. So see you in the kitchen. Vegetable oil, but in particular I'm using coconut oil. I'm using olive oil. So like what I said, we want to put a lot of garlic when you start cooking it. So as that is being cooked, which is about 2 or 3 minutes, I'm just drying the pork. Tiempo or tempo. If you go to the grocery or even in the palengke, they sell yung tinatawag nilang adobo cut, no? But somehow may kahalo siyang shoulder. This one, I like using this part because of the fat. It gives that extra flavor, especially later since we're doing twice cooked adobo. Do you want to add that crunch? So we're gonna fry it later on, right? So here. How will you know if it's cooked? It's starting to smell, the garlic. The minute you put it there, wala pa siyang smell, and then as it's already encountering with the heat source, you're going to start smelling something, no? So it's pleasant, it's garlicky, it has that somehow spicy and nutty taste, no? So, and then even the pepper, you can start, hindi siya nakakahatching, actually, no? Normally peppers nakakahatching, but as you roast it, it becomes very fragrant. So here, kung makikita mo closely, if you could just look closely, yan, medyo nagkakakita na ng gold, no? So as you see that, meaning once it starts turning, I wouldn't say brown because brown is a very strong word, no? If it's a little bit golden, that's the kind of shade of browning that we want with the garlic. You see the little specks of somehow gold. So that's when you start adding the pork. Okay? Because you really don't want, so as you coat the pork, as you coat it with the garlic, it's gonna cook it and it's gonna seal. No? So what we're doing is we're searing the pork. Ibig sabihin, we're sealing all the pores of the pork para sa ganon, all the juices or all the liquid and moisture of the pork will stay inside. You have to remember that when you speak about pork and meat, it's almost 70% liquid, tapos 30% yung muscle, meaning yung karne kinakain natin. And what makes meat tender is the moisture and the liquid content. So that's why this method of searing is an important step when you're cooking adobo. So this is our version. So let me just use it in the bowl. So there you go. Tapos, probably, mananotice mo, medyo dumidikit-dikit yung pork sa pan, and that's perfectly fine. Because one of the first steps that we'll be doing is we'll be adding the vinegar, which is the acid. And once you add the acid, malilift siya lahat sa pan. So don't worry about it, no? As long as wala ka pa naaamoy na unpleasant, na hindi sisimot. So look at the color also of the garlic as it intertwines with the pork, no? Makikita mo, it became even more golden and very nice in effect. So we're just waiting to make sure na lahat ng pork is naka-brown na, no? Meaning na seal na natin, no? So kung nakikita pa natin some red parts, we continue to simmer it. Probably this will take about 4 to 5 minutes, no, to do this. No, but what they say when you cook adobo, hindi talaga siya pwedeng madiliin. I think one of the secrets of adobo, of making it good, is you really take time in cooking it. Sometimes you can simmer it for 2 hours, 4 hours, no? And when you do the practice of simmering and braising, doon gumaganda yung texture ng liquid. Diba kung kakabuhos lang natin, nakikita mo naman masayaw ang liquid, yung tinatawag ko. Pero once you start braising it for a long time, that's when you know that nagkaka-character ng end body, no? So there you go. There. So now, there is browning. Vinegar. Yeah. So now this is the cane vinegar. And like what I said, look at the pan, ha? You observe it, nakadikit. So I'm gonna put that. And as the vinegar is simmering, that's when you can easily scrape it off. See? And look how beautiful the pan. So that's when all you ini-intertwine mo na talaga lahat ng flavors, no? Very nagiging complex. Yan, no? Nasi-scrape ko na, wala nang nakadikit na garlic. Okay? And pepper. So there you go. So you notice kanina ang taas ng vinegar, no? Very what do you call this? Very high ang heat. I hope you followed also the recipe and prepared it, no? Tawag nila mise en place, no? So here's a little bit of water. So I'm adding the water first because nag-reduce na yung ating vinegar. Okay? The bay leaf. The bay leaf. As I'm doing this, I'm boiling also garlic cloves. So here, I'm very careful in adding the soy sauce because sometimes it becomes too dark. I don't know if you see adobo na minsan napaka-dark niya. Let me increase the heat a little bit. And this is the waiting game na. We will just do the waiting game. So I'm gonna add no more water. More vinegar. For some, you might want it a little bit spicy or somehow or sweet. That's up to you. You can add sili for this. So here, so I'll just cover it for a little bit just to raise the temperature. So we will simmer this about 20 to 30 minutes. Syempre, the longer the better, no? Pero we have to wait for the pork to be tender, no? And soft, no? And that's when we start frying it. So wait for it a little bit. 49. So about 10, this is about 10 more minutes. And start frying. Nice. Okay. So now, if you notice, this can become a little messy. So let me just add a little bit of oil. It's not that hard. Adding a little bit of olive oil. I actually mix grapeseed oil and olive oil. So, but you can use anything. You can use vegetable oil, you can use corn oil. Kaya ko lang ginagamit olive oil kasi kakainin ko siya for lunch. I want it a little bit healthier. So there. So this is the rice cook. So again, kung nakita nyo, ang daming taba-taba. That's why it's really good, no? So, hindi ko siya mainit. But this is ready to fry. And then later, I'll show you, you can, kunyari, if it's for food truck, you can use achara. If it's for somehow fine dining, we can flake it a little bit. So this one, this is the boiled garlic. So basically, it's just water. We boiled buong clove. So what I'm gonna do is, siya yung una ko munang ipa-fry, and then I'll add here a little bit para meron ka pang konting mas garlic flavor, pero subtle siya. So that's what happens when you boil it. So, there you go. So just, there you go. So, mas mabilis kasi mag-heat up ang grapeseed oil. So, that's why I chose it also. And I know kanina, when we were talking about adobo dish, some actually add a little bit of sugar. I might just do that later on. Not because you want it sweetener also, but just to create that extra body, no? Kasi as it caramelizes, it somehow acts as your thickener of the sauce. So, see, there, very nice, ang garlic. So, then, yeah. So, hold on, let me just do this. So, here, I will now put the adobo a little bit here para hindi masyadong tumalsik. Kasi tatalsik siya ng sobra-sobra. Kaya, somehow, we have to drain the sauce a little bit. And I continue to simmer it, no, still, the sauce, because we're thickening it. It's easy to add water later on. So when you fry each morsel of meat, it takes about 2 minutes now. So if you look at it kanina, no, ang dami-dami ng sauce na nilagay natin. But suddenly, ang konti na ng liquid. So there, so this, just a little bit of the fried garlic. I'm gonna add here. So, is this adobo a little bit oily? You bet it is. Kaya, ang sarap niya na makanin. That's why we're gonna add some achara or salsa later on when we're plating it. There you go. Now, the beef. Now, the... So, like what I said, diba? We chose the pork cut. Careful lang, baka maano kayo. Tansikan. But we chose the pork cut na may taba para sa ganon, pag-fry natin, masarap siya. Yummy, yummy, yummy. So here, I'm just gonna add a teaspoon of sugar. So, I'm just adding just a teaspoon. No? There you go. Just so it adds texture. And then I can add a little bit of pepper also. Kanina, we cooked some pepper when we were sauteing the garlic. So this one we're adding. Actually, if you notice, very reduced, no? Reduce na ang ating sauce. No? You can add just a little bit of water. In fact, since ang tagal-tagal gumawa ng adobo, you can actually cook it and I keep it for a month. Para dinidivide ko siya into portions. Tapos I take it out and then I heat it up. No? So, if you are to translate this in a restaurant setting or in a business, you can actually cook a big batch and cut it in portions. So, upon order, you heat it out. No? So if you notice, kulang pa, no? We just want the kulang pa to, no? So it's just another minute because we want somehow the fat medyo mas crispy pa. So gusto natin yan. So probably 2 to 3 minutes per cut because the cut of the pork, I want you to just look at it, no? The cut of the pork is manipis. No? So kung thicker yung cut, syempre mas matagal siya if a fry. But since manipis to, mabilis lang. Okay, so just another minute, a few more seconds. Okay. So I'm putting it back. So there. So here, and then just fry again until we finish the whole batch. So if you notice, sinestrain ko muna kasi if not, puputok siya. Sugar. Diba? That was just 1 teaspoon of sugar and it's continuously boiling. And look how thick the sauce has become. Can you see the texture? See? So it's beautiful. So then we will add the beef later. Or 1/3 cup of water. And we just add, yeah, since it's thickening too much. Kasi it will thicken pa later. Pero if you look at it, ibang-iba na yung body, color, beautiful. Para it's not too, para lang maganda. Effect lang siya. Pumuputok siya because of the fat and that's why I had to strain it a little bit para sa ganon hindi siya masyadong pumutok. So konti na lang. Just a little bit. I had to turn off the fire a little bit para hindi masyado mag-reduce. I'll turn it on again once. Mas puno na. No, a little bit crispy lang. Just to, not totally crispy. Kasi it becomes too hard then. Ayan here, I wanna add a little bit of liquid. So, I'm just adding 1/3. Kung kasi dahil kakalagay natin ng tubig, I have to taste if it's still salty. Pwede salty. It's still there. It's still salty. So I'm not gonna touch it anymore. But from here, if you need to add more salt, ayaw mo na i-darken yung sauce, so you can use this. Okay. So there you go. Okay. So there, we're done. So basically, I already fried the adobo, and now we are ready to plate it. Okay, now but before we plate it, adobo, we're doing 2 types of plating it. One is if you would serve it in a food truck or in a food cart, no? So something casual, or maybe you have like a festival that you will have to go to. So basically very street food kind of, you know, service. No? Hindi naman street food, but really casual, no? And then the other type, it could be in a gastropub or in a casual dining. Okay, so so with that now being said, basically, if it's just going to be for street food, I would rather go for I would actually plate it with achara, only because it's cheaper, no, in cost. No? So it's easily for to count and it's easily available. No? So there. So there. So that's how we would plate it. But if it's for a gastropub, we would go for something different, no? So I'll probably use Japanese cucumber. Oops. Just mix it together. Somehow like you're creating your own salsa, no? And why would it go together? Because, di ba, naluto na natin yung vinegar ng adobo. So when you even taste it now, nawala na siya. So basically, achara is vinegar based. So this one, I'm just gonna make a simple vinaigrette of red wine vinegar, salt, pepper, yeah, and just some olive oil. No? So it's very simple. So there you go. And then, so we're just gonna chop the red onions. So this is actually the pandan leaf, no? It's purely for aesthetic reasons. So I'm just putting it there rather than sa rice. Okay, so let me just get a little bit of. So ito, para mas friendly. I was supposed to use red wine vinaigrette, but I felt para lang it's mas friendly for negosyo, no?
Yeah.
Just teach it. It's just suka. Not sure. So here, oh, diba? Because you know, you can do fine dining pero towering, it's very complicated for kitchen operations. Here is just you 3 beautiful serving vessels, put it in a nice earthy looking you know, board, and then just pandan leaves, which there's an abundance. You can use lemongrass, and this is your first food styling for your gastropub. And next will be for the food truck, no? So for here, yun naman, kailangan medyo presentable. But, if you are to serve it in a food truck, you want it to look value for money. So, you have to choose a container na mukhang marami yung sinaserve mo. Because that's the name of the game pag nakikipag-compete ka sa presyo, no? So, sa negosyo. So, there you go. It's very simple. Andyan yung ating achara. There. You can probably put 3 pieces for costing. There, yan. Tapos yung sauce and the garlic. There. There you go. So definitely, it's playing around with a container. No? So there is your, para na may konting color ang ating, kasi like what I said, no? Very difficult ang Filipino food when it comes to photography, only because it's all brown. So there is your, kung magbebenta ka sa isang fair or sa food truck, so there's your twice cooked adobo. There, paano ba to? Yan, dyan. Twice cooked adobo. So there, bili na kayo. So you can put a close up on this.
Yeah.
So here's your adobo, if you want to plate it pang food truck style or food cart. Or could be in a fair, di ba? Yung mga trade shows. And then here's for gastropub or bistro or casual dining.